A very good Friday evening to you. Hopefully it was a great week. Hopefully you're going to have a great weekend as we talk about a couple of systems, one moving through right now. It's going to be a pretty active pattern coming up. And then one of the cool things that's going to happen is if you like variety, you're going to get plenty because there's going to be a lot of big temperature swings. There's going to be some more major significant storms. That doesn't mean snow, but it certainly could be in spots. Talk about it here. Let's get right to it. Current radar. This is live right now. Over the course of the last little bit, I'll show you that. Moving through the Detroit area, moving on out, moving into the Cleveland area, Norwalk, Sandusky, Bowling Green right now. It'll be in through the Erie area. That transition from rain to snow as a cold front comes on through. You can see that front boundary moving on in. Buffalo getting hit with a nice little squall. It's going to be a quick round of maybe a half an inch to an inch of snow falling, but it's falling on wet ground. It's falling on warmer ground, so it's not all going to accumulate. Different story into upstate New York where it's moderate to heavy snow for a longer period of time. So that is going to put down a good couple inches, with some spots seeing a good few inches or more of snow. Especially in the higher terrain, some spots of 4 or 5 inches in the higher terrain outside of the main valley area. Once you get off towards like the northwest of Saratoga Springs, just moderate rain off towards the south along the I-95 along Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, Washington. So winter weather advisory is in effect there for the Schenectady, Albany area, Saratoga Springs, where we do have that more moderate to briefly heavy snow falling that's certainly adding up to a few slushy inches in spots. So this moves on through, and you're still going to get some light snow by midnight, but then into the overnight hours, it's going to start falling apart into the Albany area, and then the last little bit of snowfall should move out by 4 to 6 a.m. or so. Not much going on with high pressure back in control for Saturday, but it's an active pattern, so there's multiple systems. Here comes a clipper system moving on in towards western Michigan as we go on in towards your early Sunday morning. That could put down half an inch to maybe a couple inches in a few spots. That'll move generally north of Detroit, not going to clip it too much, but then we got another batch of that's going to move on in towards upstate New York. So a little bit into the Albany area again as that expands across the interior northeast and also in New England, even the coastal communities. But after that system, is there anything else? Well, it's just kind of scattered stuff into Monday. Not going to really be a big deal. There's more stuff much more to the west that's going to really affect the nation once you go through Tuesday. So hardly any snow is really falling compared to typical across portions of the northwest corridor into the Midwest. That's kind of surprising. We thought there would be a much more snow than what has fallen. But then you go into the middle portion of the country, and it's near average to above average snow. Obviously, where you had the Gulf Coast snowstorm, well above average snowfall. So how much snow over the next week? Well, there's certainly chances in spots of a few inches. A lot of that snow is with this current system across the interior northeast, but then we showed you that other system that's going to move in as well. That's going to certainly affect those coastal areas, but not much once you get into the I-80 corridor, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, New York City, not really seeing too much. This is the high resolution modeling from now through the rest of the event here. Again, a couple of more inches will fall into that Saratoga Springs. Not too much in Albany, not too much in Buffalo. Much more where you get that Lake Ontario influence, and that secondary system will allow for a little bit more to form. But again, it's staying under a couple inches once you get in towards portions of Michigan with those couple of clippers. Plenty of rain. It's not going to be a huge deal, but it's going to be adding up from the system that we just had to the next couple through this is probably through Friday, not just Wednesday. Some spots certainly picking up a few inches of rain into the West Virginia area, and a lot of spots half an inch to an inch of rain total once you go through portions of southern Ohio in towards like Richmond, Virginia, over an inch. So decently above average rainfall across much of the Ohio Valley, much of the east. Decent above average from San Francisco to Denver too. It's just kind of the deep southwest that's not going to see too much. Temperature wise, this is what we expected February to be back in September. So I think honestly I'm geeking out because this is really cool. We really expected this La Nina type pattern where the cold's northwest, the warmth is southeast, and you have these battle zones. That's what's happening. This does not happen every year where you can nail, or maybe not nail, but do a really good job on a long-range forecast several months out. So often it's okay, or sometimes, unfortunately, it's a swing and a miss. Long range forecasting is hard, but this is the map that we expected back in September. No joke. So look at how big these temperature swings are. Let's put that into perspective. Sunday afternoon, you're well into the 60s in Oklahoma, but you're 4 up around Winnipeg. 44 in Chicago, 62 Atlanta. We'll take it. 50s in Ohio. Now let's fast forward to Tuesday. You're below 0 in spots in the Dakotas, back into Montana, but you're 80 in Houston. You're in the 80s in northern Florida. You're kind of that middle ground, St. Louis to Chicago. So with these big temperature swings, you're going to have some big storms that are going to ride along that. Look at that, spiking 80s into like Dallas and Kansas at times, but then the cold air comes in. Then you're back into single digits in the Twin Cities. You're back into the teens and 20s, back into Chicago, and kiss the warmth goodbye into New York eventually too. But notice just how it kind of fluctuates off and on. You get again, these fronts that move on through. So you're talking about Omaha 32, but you're talking about like southern Ohio 60. But then you get the cold air. So we're going to have rain events mixing with changing to snow. We're going to have some icing events. There probably will be corridors somewhere from the Midwest into the Northeast that do have major snow over the next 10 days or so. Just because it's not showing up on models very well right now does not mean that it's not going to happen. These are the type of events that can certainly deepen really low, because you have that just huge temperature differential, huge moisture differential, and you can see some pretty strong low pressure centers with blizzard conditions or with icing on the cold side. So keep an eye on it, but have a great weekend.